So last week I talked about all of the positive ways that Beat Saber has been a really great impact on my life this year and how much fun I've had playing it and how much I feel better mentally and physically and emotionally and how you close rings on like a beast on Apple Watch and all that good stuff. And it really is great. But while Beat Saber is all of those things and it's absolutely a lot of fun, one of the things that I noticed was stepping up to the expert level can be absolutely horrifying. That is because it can be a really harsh reality check when you are met with an endless barrage of colored blocks that are flying at your face and feeling like you are completely ill-equipped to handle that task. So with that in mind, I know a lot of new players, even those who have historically really loved rhythm games, can find that leap up to expert to be really intimidating and difficult. So today what I wanted to do was just go over 5 tips that can help you sort of make that transition from medium or hard on up to expert without going crazy in the process. First up, go hard, but not too hard. Yes, you'll burn more calories swinging your arms harder, and it's way cooler to envision yourself as Uma Thurman with a katana, but a lot of that extra effort is wasted, at least from a scoring perspective. Beat Saber does not score you necessarily on how hard you swing the controller, but rather it is more interested in your form as you perform these actions. So if you tend to swing the controller in a wider arc, you will be rewarded with a higher score. If you do little short baby swings with your wrists like a T-Rex, you will get a lower score than if you do big sweeping arcs with each slice that you do. The second reason not to go hard is for straight up safety reasons. If you're swinging wild haymakers at full force and you're not 100% focused on your form, or you're tired, or you're not paying attention, you can absolutely injure yourself. Case in point, about 3 weeks ago I was playing one of the songs that required you to swing your arms towards each other like this in an arc overlapping, and I was tired and I did it full force and I slammed the controller right into this thumb on this side, and it felt pretty awful, and I got a nasty blue bruise all the way down my thumb for my idiocy. And while it didn't kill me, it certainly didn't tickle either. Just remember that focusing on better form will inherently put you in a better position for upcoming blocks, certainly more so than flailing your arms around with the fury of 1,000 suns. Tip number 2, make sure your floor is set to the correct height. Now this can be kind of tricky because your height is actually always sort of relative to where the PlayStation camera is positioned, but take the extra time to do this. I had my settings off for the first week or so and found that my lower back was absolutely killing me. And that's because I was contorting my back in an unnatural way to bend down and hit these blocks, and really I ended up causing myself a lot of unnecessary pain, discomfort, and ultimately bad scores as I struggled to hit the blocks because the height was so far off. So remember, if it feels like you're bending in an unnatural way or having a lot of unnecessary pain, make sure that you take the time to adjust the setting before you start each session. Next up, get familiar with certain patterns. On some of the faster tracks where notes are faster and closer together, it can be easy to fail a song almost instantly. One of the things that frustrated me early on in my pursuit to get good was that I couldn't always see what direction some of the arrows were pointing when they were particularly close together. But I'll let you in on a secret, if you see 2 arrows that seem like they're really close together, the next one that you can't really see is almost certainly going to be the opposite of the one you just sliced. So if you slice an incoming up arrow and the next one is very close, you can't really tell, it's almost certainly going to be a down arrow. And that's because you're not going to see 2 quick beats that are both facing down, as it'd take mere mortals too long to slice down, come back up, and then slice back down again to hit the same direction in rapid succession. Almost always you'll find that the natural rhythm of how the songs play out follows the natural rhythm of what you do with your wrist anyways. An up will be followed by a down, a left will be followed by a right, and so forth. So rather than try to see each individual note in the direction that it puts forth, try to think more rhythmically or in a more pattern-based way, because it's very much a forest for the trees situation. When you can stop focusing on the tiny details of each individual block and instead see the entire song exploded as a rhythmic puzzle where the solution is how your arms move and not reacting to each individual block in real time, you'll have a much easier time with the trickier songs. Also, don't be afraid to vary your grip on the controller. Mind you, always make sure that your wrist straps are secure so you don't break something if you are prone to flailing around like a maniac. But ultimately I found that some songs are just easier if you adjust your grip on the controllers. For relatively slower songs, you can hold the motion controller like an actual sword and that's fine. But for songs with faster, trickier sections that demand more dexterity to get the cuts down quickly enough and with good form, I've switched up the grip further to the back of the controller so I can swing them a little more quickly by flicking my wrist for trickier strings of blocks. This won't be as clear initially until you get more familiar with the songs that Beat Saber actually has to offer, but as you do, it will become more clear to you which grip is most appropriate for which situation. Sometimes it makes more sense to hold it like a sword, and then other times it'll make more sense to hold it like a conductor who's leading an orchestra. It really just depends on the song that you're playing, or even the section within the song that you're playing. And initially you may not realize which songs or which sections call for different grips, but as you get more familiar with the track listing that is available on Beat Saber, it'll become more clear to you which one is best for which situation. And finally, don't forget about modifiers in free play. When I say beginner, that's kind of broad. You might be a beginner who aspires to be an expert plus player, or maybe you actually want to compete in tournaments someday, or maybe you're just looking for a way that you can be more active without having to necessarily reach a pass-fail criteria to continue the song and get the most physical benefit out of playing Beat Saber. If you're in that last camp, or if you're just a player who's looking to practice up more on the songs without the risk of failure, don't forget to check out the modifiers that you can put on in free play. Now these can increase the challenge if you want to up your game a little bit by doing things like putting disappearing arrows on the blocks or speeding up the song, but it can also reduce the challenge by doing things like removing the amount of barriers that might require you to do squats or to bend in a certain way, or if you just want to make sure, again, that you're not going to encounter some fail scenario and you just want to get the maximum physical benefit you can from the song without having to hit a game over and starting the track all the way from the beginning. So if you're struggling with Beat Saber right now, you may not have to. You may just want to jump into the free play mode and experiment with the different modifiers to find a playstyle that suits you best. And that's all for this video. Those are just a few tips that I noticed in the course of my playing over 24 hours at this point, last I checked, so I did get the trophy for that. And I intend to keep playing Beat Saber for a really, really long time. It has become one of my favorite ways to exercise, and really just one of my favorite games of all time, probably. And my question of the day for you is, what is your favorite song in Beat Saber? And it doesn't even have to be one of the packed-in, regular ones that is available for the PlayStation VR version. If there's a custom song online that is your particular favorite, I would love to hear about it as somebody who will probably start playing Beat Saber more seriously on something like the Oculus Rift and move away from the PlayStation VR at some point. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. If you like content like this, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions about Beat Saber or any advice you could give me as somebody who's relatively new to the Beat Saber scene, I would absolutely love to hear about it. So, thanks again for taking the time out of your day to watch. Totally appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.